I'm Diane Coleman with Not Dead Yet, a national disability rights organization that addresses end-of-life care policies. Many in this field doubt that the views of disability organizations are relevant. But while people with disabilities aren't usually terminally ill, the terminally ill are almost always disabled. People with disabilities also live on the front lines of the healthcare system that serves and too often underserves many people. Therefore, our perspective can shed some light on these complex issues. A few weeks ago, the Pew Trust Stateline published an article about POLST, and I was gratified that the author contacted me about the disability perspective. The article reflected our concerns as follows. How do we know the POLST medical order actually reflects the desires of the individual? We worry that depending on how POLSTs are presented, they can make life-sustaining treatments, such as the use of feeding tubes, seem unbearable, even though many disabled people are able to live full lives because of them. According to the POLST National Task Force site, the intended audience for use of POLST is patients for whom the healthcare professional's response to the surprise question, would I be surprised if this patient died in the next 12 months, is no, I would not be surprised. These include seriously ill patients with life-limiting progressive advanced illness and patients with advanced frailty. Those criteria are much broader than the hospice definition of terminal and sweep in many disabled people, people with muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, and many other conditions, including me. Many of us are working, raising families, and living normal lives with some adaptations. Medical professionals specializing in disability understand this paradox, but most practitioners do not. It's clear that POLST is being used with people who are not terminal. The one-year surprise question is unreliable, yet two state laws even extend POLST to those with a 5-year prognosis. The California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform report that nursing facilities pressured all residents to have a POLST. People with non-terminal disabilities are forced into nursing facilities every day in this country due to the inability to secure appropriate home care services. We also see that Delaware suspended use of POLST because it was being used for non-terminal people. Some might ask what's wrong with using POLST to document the treatment wishes of people with long-term disabilities. One problem is that POLST requires a simple yes or no choice regarding each type of life-sustaining treatment, without allowing different choices for the same treatment depending on the context, events, and circumstances surrounding the need for treatment. This only makes sense for someone who is expecting to die soon, regardless of the specific situation that arises. Another concern we have is the pervasive negative bias against life-sustaining treatments in POLST literature. While some distinguish between short-term and long-term use of technologies, I haven't seen anything that acknowledges successful long-term use of feeding tubes or ventilators. This creates a very serious problem with informed consent. Even with tracheostomies and ventilators, some people are able to work, go to school, and live in their communities. As an agency director, I myself have employed 2 women with trach vents over my career, and many others with serious progressive chronic conditions. One advocate I know suggested that we need a disability educational campaign called We Love Our Tubes or Tube Pride. I just watched a POLST training video from the California project. The leading doctor modeled how to explain and fill out the POLST form. He presented only one scenario for each of the 4 treatments, feeding tube, CPR, antibiotics, and a ventilator, to a female patient who uses oxygen but mentioned that she still goes hiking. He did not present even one alternative scenario for each type of treatment. In each case, he clearly steered her toward a certain result, and that is what she chose. In the interest of time, I'll submit additional concerns and resource materials in written form. Meanwhile, I hope you can see that the disability community has knowledge and life experiences with serious progressive chronic conditions and life-sustaining technologies that ought to be part of informed consent disclosures, but is not. That needs to change.